Japan is arguably one of the most well-known countries when it comes to technology, video games, and all sorts of media. It was the birthplace of anime, it's the home of massive companies like Nintendo and Sony, and it was the starting point for many recognizable games and game series, like, well, literally half of them. One thing Japan has also become known for over the years is having some pretty, different media. And of course, video games are no exception there. Because as I continued on my quest to uncover some of the strangest games out there, I found myself falling down the rabbit hole of the most obscure Japanese exclusive PS2 games that I had ever seen before. So let's talk a bit about the Simple 2000 series of budget PS2 games, what they are and how weird they are. So Simple 2000 was a pretty large series of games from the Japanese company D3 Publisher, released for the PlayStation 2. The number in the name came from their budget-focused 2,000 yen price point, or around $20 at the time. New PS2 games in Japan were around 6,000 to 7,000 yen, which was slightly more than what they were in the US, usually costing around $50 each. So hey, at 1/3 the cost of a brand new game, these would seem like a pretty good deal, as long as they ended up actually being, good games. But like I said in my other video, just because a game is considered weird or budget doesn't always mean it's bad, right? Right? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Now, D3 managed to churn out over 150 of these games in different volumes throughout the series' 8-year lifespan, most of which are pretty hard to find information on. But after some digging and lots of Google Translate, I narrowed it down to a few different ones to take a look at today. But anyways, enough talking, let's just take a look at some of these weird games. Let's start off nice and easy with Simple 2000 Volume 105, The Maid Outfit and Machine Gun. Luckily this one has a fan-made English translation so I can actually read the menus, not to mention the translated subtitles so I can make sure I get fully invested in this game's deep and intricate lore. So you play as a female robot named Yuki, who is tasked with traveling through various periods of time to protect her creator named Dr. Masaki from a mysterious organization who's trying to travel through time to harm him in the past. As the title suggests, she does this via a machine gun, a katana, and a goddamn anti-material rifle. Okay, you know what? Not a realistic plot by any means, but it does sound kind of fun. After a little introductory cutscene explaining the background of the story, we get a little selection menu where you can swap out your weapons, outfit, or add some upgrades to your weapon, which I'll cover a little bit in a second. But for now it looks like we're just stuck with the basics, the good old Galil and Stechkin combo. Gameplay wise, well, it's your pretty standard third-person shooter. The camera moves around the levels with you, sometimes it follows behind, sometimes beside, sometimes it just does whatever it wants. So I guess it's kinda like a third-person shooter mixed with the older Resident Evil games. I don't know. All I know is that you can't control it and it either smoothly pans to the next area or just appears at a new angle. So it's a little disorienting at times. Yeah, it's basically a shooting gallery. You move through each level blasting away standard enemies like these rather creepy looking dolls or, I don't know, floating robot cameras or something. They'll randomly appear as you move through the level, you just need to clear them out before you can move on to the next area. Sometimes they'll just keep spawning for a bit, you can just lock on, spam the fire button, and never really miss a shot. It's not particularly difficult, mostly because I'm convinced they just kinda forgot about the AI for half the enemies. They're supposed to jump forward to attack, but most of the time they either just dive into a wall or stand there and look at you. The first boss is a helicopter that kinda looks like a bath toy I had when I was a kid. And this is where I ran into a bit of a problem. You see, for a game with machine gun in the title, it ironically doesn't give you much in the way of ammo, and I had exhausted pretty much all of it by the end of the level. Now you'd think for a boss battle you'd be given something to prepare. A better weapon, maybe some health, or ammo. Well, apparently nobody thought of that one, so I was pretty much shit out of luck there. But through a mixture of luck and probably some massive design oversight, I managed to finish off the chopper with the katana after a few minutes. Genius. So the game itself is fine, it's just the controls that are a bit stiff. The movement just feels like a D-pad that's been bound to the analog stick, so corners usually don't work. And no, it's not my controller. You also can't seem to attack when moving with the katana or rifle, so you have to come to a full stop and only then will you be able to attack with them, sometimes at least. It's a little stiff, but it's not so bad. One thing I can't get past though is the button layout, and this goes for pretty much all of these Simple 2000 games. They seem to swap the usual PlayStation layout of the face buttons, so the circle button is select and the X button is back. And yeah, I know it's a small gripe, but it was a little irritating. Even the other controls were a bit strange too, like having reload bound to L1. The other levels are kind of the same deal, but the third one is a sniping mission where you have to defend the doctor's mansion. You basically just hop back and forth between the balconies and, just snipe the incoming enemies. Pretty simple, but again, the camera loves to do just pretty much whatever it wants, so good luck hitting anything. Going forward, the game is pretty much the same thing with a slightly different backdrop. You can upgrade your weapons with the points you get from completing levels, but the cost of these upgrades is what I would call total bullshit. I completed 4 missions by this point with no deaths, and I had just over a tenth of what I would have needed for the first upgrade. Yeah, it's not happening. In the end, the maid outfit and machine gun gets an 8 out of 10 on the strange scale. It certainly is a weird one, but not the weirdest idea on this list. Overall, the game is quite stiff, but it works well enough, and the charmingly odd theme isn't so bad as well. I'll give it a reasonable 6.5 out of 10. Not so bad, but if I wanted a game with maid-dressed android females wielding guns, I'd rather just play Girls Frontline. Next up, we've got Simple 2000 Volume 94, The Aka Champion. It's basically a series of sports minigames, but instead of athletes, it features a bunch of super babies competing against each other. Now, the idea of a sports game featuring a bunch of super strength toddlers is pretty strange. But yeah, just you wait, because that's not even the weirdest part. Oddly enough, even though it's a Japanese game, the menus are like half English, half Japanese, which I found kinda strange. Anyways, let's see if these minigames are any good. So you can choose between the single-player adventure mode where you face off against a random opponent across the summer and winter themed games, or the arcade mode that can be played either 2-player or against a CPU. And since I doubt I'll ever find anybody to play this thing with, I guess I'll settle for the CPU. So the first game is a simple dash, or crawl, or both, I don't know. It's literally just spamming the circle and square button as fast as possible and hoping for the best. Well, a whopping 20 seconds later, I won and the minigame was over. Okay, let's try out one of the winter games, like Ski Jump, where you spam the circle and square button as fast as possible, again, hoping for the best. Yeah, I think I'm seeing a pattern here. There's a grand total of about 30 minigames to choose from, and pretty much all of them exclusively involve you either mashing a button, mashing 2 buttons, or timing button presses correctly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, if you decide to play arcade mode against the CPU, don't. For some reason, they always win. They never miss anything. Take this minigame for example, timing your button presses to jump over the rope. The CPU will never miss, ever. I tried, and I tried, they will never lose no matter what happens. Oh, and yes, the rope is electrified, because Olympics for toddlers wasn't enough, so they decided this shit needed an electrified jumping rope. Why? I don't know, and I won't question it. So remember when I said the whole super baby death-defying Olympics thing wasn't the weirdest part? Well, here you go. Victory animations are common in games, some sort of signature move, maybe a fist pump or something like that. Well, in this game they decided to make the winner, I shit you not, dance with their pants pulled down. Uncensored. I don't even know if I can show this on YouTube, and I wouldn't anyways. All I know is that someone at D3 needs to lose their job for actually clearing this to be put into the game. To be honest, it's not even funny, it's genuinely discomforting, and pretty much killed whatever little desire I even had to continue playing this game. Yeah, that's enough of that. It receives a respectable strange rating of 9 out of 10. It's pretty goddamn weird. Overall, 4 out of 10. Go play Wii Sports instead. That way you'll get some exercise and actually have some fun, because this game just kinda sucks. Actually, you know what? 3 out of 10. It loses a point for those disturbing victory emotes, and I don't even feel bad about that. Well, as they say, you save the best for last. I hope. So here's the one you've all been waiting for. Volume 50, The Giant Beauty. As far as I can gather, this is one of, if not the only Simple 2000 game that was released outside of Japan, in the PAL region specifically, where it was titled Demolition Girl. That's the version we'll be looking at today because they're pretty much identical. Now I could think of 2 possible reasons as to why this one was the only release outside of Japan. Either 1, it was actually a pretty good game, or 2, they thought the game's, unique plot would have made it appealing in other regions. I'll let you take a wild guess at which one is probably the most accurate here. Now, depending on who you are, the cover art alone should be enough to tell you that this game is either going to be pretty bad or really, really good. Hey man, I don't judge. Suffice to say, this title isn't exactly going to have Kojima-level writing, but it does at least give some background. The intro cutscene features a bunch of still shots of a modeling photo shoot on a beach in Japan. All is going well until the girl sees a mysterious creature in the sand. How the hell does this even look like a jellyfish? Anyway, she gets bitten or stung, I don't know, by this jellyfish thing, faints, and then turns into a giant. Mind-blowing. Okay, so what happens next? Do I get to walk around as this giant character, destroying military vehicles, trying to stop me, and absolutely leveling the city? Well, no. You get to be the helicopter pilot tasked with flying around to investigate the situation. Okay, fine, I'll take it. So, our first objective, measure the dimensions of the giant's body. Oh boy, I can't possibly guess where this one is going. So yeah, you fly the helicopter around with this laser scanner and beam whatever part of the body it tells you within a certain amount of time. All the while she bumbles around smashing into buildings or your helicopter if you're not careful. Which isn't exactly easy because this controls less like a chopper and more like a flying boat. It works, it's just really stiff, and there's no way of simply turning the helicopter at a standstill, so you'll have to bank some wide-ass turns to shift the view. It also doesn't help that the steering in particular suffers from some massive input lag. It's like a half-second delay for any movement. This became a real pain in my ass on the second mission when you have to shoot the giant with anesthetic. The gameplay is mostly the same here, except the target location can switch between front or back, and since she's constantly spinning around, it just sucks. The objective is technically different, but it's literally the exact same thing as the first mission. Just target the area and spam R1 until the game decides you've done it enough. So at this point, I pretty much knew what the rest of the game was going to have in store, but I decided to try out the third mission anyways. Here you get to fly a jet and destroy a bunch of UFOs trying to attack the convoy. Yeah, you just lock onto the targets and spam R1 again. And no, the jet isn't any better than the helicopter. It sucks. I'll be honest, this is where I just gave up. It's not that the game was that bad or anything, I guess, but each mission was basically the same mechanic repeated, just with the objective worded in a different way. It's also pretty obvious that the express purpose of this game is, well, not so much the gameplay. This can obviously be seen from the quest option in the menu, where you complete objectives to unblock certain images. Yeah, let's not do that. This one disappointed me. I was really hoping for something that brought the destruction of a game like War of Monsters, just with the character designs of Dead or Alive. Now that, I would not complain about. I mean, I knew the game wasn't going to be great, but I at least thought it would have been funny enough to make up for it, but it actually kind of takes itself seriously, which makes it even worse. This one gets a respectable weird rating of 8 out of 10 for being kinda strange. But if you're expecting me to give this one a 10 out of 10 for being a real man's game, yeah, I'm not. It's a 4 out of 10 at best. It's a game, I'll give it that. It just kinda isn't a good one. And outside of the appeal for gigantic bikini-clad women that I'm sure many people out there have, it doesn't really have a whole lot going for it. Between machine gun-wielding robotic maids, super toddler Olympics, and a gigantic bikini model, I think my brain has had enough Simple 2000 for one day, but maybe not a lifetime. So let me know in the comments if that's something I should do, because this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the most obscure and unknown PS2 games. I'll probably end up taking a look at more of them in the near future, that is, once I get some therapy after seeing those disturbing victory animations.